Yes, Jim.
When it looks like commerce on a bigger part, like let's say, okay, now Comcast has now become the biggest cable provider.
Yes.
And now the cities have to start negotiating contracts. Well, now, how do we really have any negotiating power at all when they have become the conglomerate they have, and they're not even based in the Midwest or anything else? So it's, you know, we've asked them to continue the contract as is in good faith. No, we can't, we're not going to do that. So now the cable rates or everything else that you're thinking of are now going to either skyrocket or do it however they want to do it. How do you as government negotiate against a cable play, you know, like that? I mean, you can say DirecTV or Dish or whatever, but you know, when Comcast is now the conglomerate.
Yeah, these are very challenging issues for citizens and for municipalities. We putting whether cable TV is a monopoly similar to the way we think of water or gas or electricity, or is it a little bit different? Those are real challenges, but we find ourselves not engaged in those type of legal battles, although they are important to citizens.
You could get there, couldn't you? I mean, somebody like Netflix, this whole net neutrality, I've never quite understood that whole thing, but it sounds like part of the issue, at least, is Comcast and other providers put in all that cable, and I guess that's why they have this right to negotiate with the cities to begin with, which is not like that. But then somebody like Netflix or some other large broadband user, they're going to be looking for an attorney to make some kind of an argument for them against the new regulation eventually, because it's going to, you know, it's going to really affect their business.
It will, and there's no shortage of attorneys, nor
well, no, I mean, Netflix is, so you're right, they're not going to be a small enough player probably to be, but
so
it is the areas of activity that you're
this.
interested in.
Here's another way of thinking about this. If you think about the jurisprudence from the New Deal as it relates to economic regulations, and the rational and the fact that for all practical purposes the doors are locked in terms of anyone challenging economic regulations, what that leaves a public interest firm like IJ in a position to do is that we're going to take the simplest cases, hair braiding, tree trimmers, sign hangers, casket monks who manufacture caskets. We're going to take the simplest economic cases, ones that judges are going to say, that's crazy. Funeral directors get a monopoly over selling boxes. We're going to take those cases and try to push the law to create more economic regulations. By contrast, the complexities of millions and billions of dollars in investment in cable and net neutrality, all these are way beyond what a public interest law firm
But you're hoping that it filters up, basically.
Here's the great irony. A federal judge feels completely comfortable doing an antitrust case that Microsoft has a dominant market position and should potentially be broken up. They're willing to engage in that level, or AT&T, or IBM, or Google. They're willing to engage in that level of economic sophistication. But to ask them to look at whether hair braiders should go to school for 1,500 hours, they're reluctant to do that. And so that's the sort of irony that we face. Why is it that antitrust law is rich in its complexity, but constitutional litigation under the 14th Amendment is not?
Lee?
Yes, sir.
Has your organization ever, when I first moved into New Brighton, it was found that the Arsenal property was polluting the New Great wells and a whole bunch of other stuff. And so there was a class action suit that our family joined in. And we prevailed. We sued the federal government.
Wow.
And we won. And there's a couple other smaller players in all that. But you get involved in...
You know, we don't get involved in environmental regulations. It's an interesting dynamic because this is the basic nuisance, a trespass and nuisance law. I shouldn't be able to come and dump a pile of stuff on your property. And these ancient concepts of trespass and nuisance really are torts that should stop me from dumping stuff on your property. Now that has evolved to environmental regulations as a way of attempting to prevent before it happens, as opposed to after it happens, you're suing me for damages. So that's where environmental law, and that's the tension between environmental law and some more traditional remedies, such as nuisance and trespass, that you get to, nuisance and trespass, you get to sue me after the fact, and with environmental law, there's attempts to stop the pollution.
Okay, then how about the international, we get this brought up a lot where staff would like to have an international whatever law on housing, so they want to tell you when did new windows, new roofs come into your home and tell you how to do your water heater if it's too old. They actually want to enact those type of things.
They do, don't they?
Yes.
Because the housing code just isn't as exciting, right?
So if you get involved, if somebody wants to say, okay, wait a minute, you enacted this law, I don't want to be part of this.
Yes, this is our Red Wing case. This is exactly our Red Wing case.
Okay.
In the city of Red Wing, if you're a landlord or of a rental property, you must have that rental property inspected every 3 years. And you must have that in order to get your license, your landlord license, your rental property license. Well, we have landlords and tenants who don't want, and the tenants don't want to be inspected. Thank you very much. I would like to be left alone. I don't want to be inspected. And so the question is, can the city of Red Wing force an inspection when the tenant and landlord don't want to be inspected? And can they get a warrant? And can they get a warrant if there's no evidence associated with the building that there's anything wrong with the building? And we think that before the city of Red Wing can get a warrant to come in, they should find some evidence of something wrong. Paint's chipped, pipes are leaking, there's a hole in the roof. They should have to find some evidence. And the city of Red Wing is saying, oh no, we want to get in. The city is saying it wants to get in just because it wants to get in.
But what about your normal house where they're looking at it from the road and they're saying, you know what, your windows are older, we think you need to replace those. Your roof, not.
Light bulbs.
But actually, the gentleman that we mutually know that helps you out every once in a while believes in that, believes that we should be able to go around and tell people that they need new windows and need new roofs. And I don't understand. I understand that, you know, they think it devalues your home if you live next door to somebody like that.
That's a bit of a stretch, don't you think?
I do,
Yeah.
but
Some don't, right? Some
there
don't.
are people who believe in this, so they want to tell you where to put your garbage cans, where to, you know, it's more and more regulation that they want us to infuse as city government.
So this is the on a big scale. This is the big difference between those of us who believe that government exists to protect rights, and those who believe that government exists to make life better. And those, the progressive instinct is always trying to turn the dials and make life better, irrespective of the cost of turning the dials and the failure rate of turning the dials. So I think it is enough for the fine people on the City Council of New Brighton just to protect people's homes from burglary and robbery and other bad fire and other bad things. But at its core, that is the difference. That is the very essence of the difference between a view that government should be limited to protecting your rights and a view that government should exist to make life better.
But it's free money if it comes from the government.
Oh, yes. Yes, sir.
Yeah, what about this light bulb deal? I happen to be married to one of the 50 people in the United States that get sunburn from fluorescent lights.
Oh, wow.
And so we're going to have to change all of our lights over to fluorescent lights, you know, within the next 20 years, I suppose, or 15 years, whatever it takes. Is there anybody fighting that?
You know, I don't know about that case, but that's a great example.
Very good.
That's a great example of the unintended consequences.
Yeah.
And the one-size-fits-all nature. And why do government programs so consistently fail? Because there's a certain conceit that exists with them that they have information. And if you get the information fed to the right people in the room, good things will happen. Washington is 1,000 miles away. They don't know your wife's
Problem.
How do they promulgate a rule that says everyone 1,000 miles away in New Brighton, Minnesota should have fluorescent lights or a certain type of light? And that's the conceit of the progressive instinct of that they can make things better, and they do have information, and I think